Let me say something once again, and that is Too Raw for TV, Mike Soul, is a thinking man. And when I do videos, I don't have a script in front of me. I just press record, and I usually gather my thoughts as I'm doing the video. That's why sometimes at the beginning of my videos, you might see me have little pauses because I'm trying to come up with what I want to say on the fly. All right, a lot of YouTubers don't do that. A lot of YouTubers memorize something or they're reading from a script or they have talking points. I don't do any of that. Now, from time to time, I'll have like some things I'll look up as far as numbers, all right, that I want to repeat in a video to make a point, but that's just how I do my stuff, all right? So if I'm talking too slowly, that's because my videos might be a little bit too complex for you. Maybe you need someone who speak mostly in talking in simple, simplistic talking points that you can catch on, or rather quickly. All right, now that I got that out of my system, let's talk about Klay Thompson. Now, Klay Thompson apologized yesterday for some comments that he made last week when he criticized Bay Area fans, Golden State Warrior fans, for not cheering enough and being demonstrative enough in their support for the Warriors at Oracle Arena. I think it was following a home loss to the Phoenix Suns. And he was coerced or forced to apologize for those remarks yesterday. Apparently, he didn't like the fact he had to do that. I don't know who was behind it or prodded him to do so. Maybe it was his father, Michael Thompson, the former Laker. Maybe it was also Steve Kerr, the head coach. Or maybe a combination of other individuals. But, I tend to, look at it like this. The crowd can be a great six man. They can. But usually, what happens is complacency sets in. All right. And let me get this point first. Let me get out the way. Complacency. The Warriors have been to the finals 4 years in a row. They've won the NBA championship 3 out of the last 4 years. All right. And they're favored to go to the finals again this year. All right. Whether they win it all or not, it's going to be a tall task. To three-peat in the NBA is a very difficult thing to do. And only a few teams have done it. The Minneapolis Lakers of the 50s, Bill Russell's Celtics of the 60s, the Chicago Bulls, okay, and of the 90s, and the Shaq Kobe Lakers of the early 2000s. To four-peat would be a stretch, all right? Now, complacency is natural. It's going to happen. That's why I'm not tripping so hard about the Warriors this year, and people saying, oh, this is the year the Warriors are going to fall. If you look at history, history like I do, this happens. Now, does that mean that Warrior fans shouldn't be concerned at all? Yeah, they should be, because so few teams have three-peated. But the third championship team, all right, of a championship era is usually the toughest task. And we'll see if they can do it. Now, let me go to the other point I was going to make. Bay Area fans, the Golden State Warrior fans, generally are wealthier. They're very successful individuals. California's economy as a whole has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. All right? You have a lot of individuals who are multi-millionaires, even billionaires that attend Oracle Arena, and And I just see these fans as a little bit different from your average fan like me or you. All right. These individuals will go to an Oracle game because it's just the thing to do. That's something that you do. These people are very successful, and they wouldn't be going to Oracle Arena if the Warriors themselves were not successful. Um, these people look at themselves as the epitome of success. They want everything around them to reflect that. If the Warriors aren't playing well, they'll drop the Warriors just like a bad habit. They're not passionate fans. Um, I can recall, for instance, a difference, and Chicago fans know this. There's a difference between the way the fans sounded in Chicago Stadium and the way they sounded at the United Center. Don't get me wrong. During the second three-peat, the United Center fans eventually, after that first championship, they really started becoming better at cheering for the Chicago Bulls because they appreciated what they had. And I think in that generation, they realized that the writing was on the wall for that team. Pippen was past 30. Jordan was well into his 30s. Rodman was well into his 30s. Harper was older. That team shelf life was limited, and they milked out every drop of that championship run. Chicago Stadium fans were a little bit different. There was an era where I think the average fan could still afford good seats and good tickets. You still had probably more of a upper middle class representation in the Chicago Stadium crowd, and that was probably the loudest at that time, the loudest stadium in the NBA at that time. I think ultimately Chicago Stadium, once they were phased out, I think the loudest arena at that time changed over to probably Key Arena, the Seattle Supersonics. Uh, but the thing is, Sonic fans, they love the Seattle Supersonics. And I think it's a travesty they don't have a franchise yet. Hopefully, the Sonics will be reborn in Seattle. Chicago fans, like I said, enthusiastic, passionate, long history with their organization. Lakers, all right? Not only do you have the long-standing history of the Los Angeles Lakers going all the way back to the early 1950s, all right? You have all these other teams in the Los Angeles area that that Los Angeles sports fans are passionate about, all right? You have the Dodgers going all the way back to the 50s. You know what I'm saying? You have the San Francisco 49ers, their long history, and you get my point. New York, they're passionate about their franchise. The Knicks going all the way back to the 1950s. They've been with the Knicks through thick and thin. You have the Giants. You know, it's a long, proud sports history in these cities. Golden State, I mean, the Warriors have, for the most part, in the last 4 decades, have been a horrible franchise. All right, they've had their little peaks here or there, run TMC in the early 1990s. But other than that, up until the last 4 or 5 years, they haven't had a lot to cheer about. There isn't that long connection there. So you're not going to get, to me at least, that really passionate crowd, that sports frenetic crowd. Okay, um, basically, the fans are also kind of symptomatic of the same thing that's afflicting the Warriors. Is that, I don't think the Warriors fans are really going to get into things until the playoffs. That's just how I feel. Like, I think when the playoffs start, that's when the Warrior fans are really going to get enthused about everything. And maybe that's when the Warriors also themselves will step up and play like the Warriors on a more consistent level. All right. But the Warriors need to just step up themselves. I mean, like, yeah, the crowd is a great six man. All right. But a championship team has to be able to turn that switch on. And in the playoffs, if I'll put you like this, that's my last point. If the Warriors need motivation to play well and step up in the playoffs, if they're still suffering from that, then if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm worried. Because now you guys have just lost your spark. You've lost your spark. And when that occurs, then this run that they've been on, no matter how talented they are on paper, then it's in serious jeopardy. But I think it's just the doldrums of the regular season. It happens with teams that have been successful for so long. The playoffs should turn that around, and hopefully the crowd will be back into it and be like how they were during the first couple of championship runs. But tell me what you guys think.